Hey, Jake's Lego Corner here with my thoughts on the new wave of LEGO City sets releasing on January 1st, 2024. First up, we have the green race car, which will be retailing for $13.99 Canadian. Personally, I think that this set's a great 4 Plus set, but otherwise not so much a good set. It looks decent, but I don't feel like it's gonna be it's not gonna sell well among people other than 4 Plus. Next up, we have the Construction Steamroller, which will be retailing for $13.99 Canadian. Personally, I feel like this set here is probably one of the better, cheap sets of the wave, and it will be a day one pickup for me. I don't know why, it just looks good. It's a good value, and I like construction vehicles. They look neat, and I don't have a lot of them. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Next up, we have the Fire Rescue Helicopter, which will retail for $13.99 Canadian. Personally, I find that this set is a great helicopter, and it's a good price, but I don't feel like I need it because it kind of feels like they've made this set before a couple times. Next up, we have the Fire Rescue Motorcycle, which will retail for $13.99 Canadian. This set is a decent motorcycle, but it is a 4 Plus set, and you can tell just by the look of it that it is a 4 Plus set, so it's not really that great of a set besides, play-wise, which I guess is what these sets are made to be anyways. Next up, we have the go-kart and race car drivers, which will retail for $13.99 Canadian. This set is pretty good. I mean, the builds are kind of small, but you do get 2 of them. And the figures are alright, but yeah. Next up, we have the Space Construction Mech, which will retail for $13.99 Canadian. And personally, I find that this is a great looking mech. The side build's decent, but the mech is it's what you're paying for. It looks great, and you're definitely getting your value for that set. Next up, we have the Blue Monster truck, which will be retailing for $19.99 Canadian. Personally, I think this truck looks really good. From the looks of it, it looks like it's following the style from the stunts sets, but just the truck on its own and not in the main body of the set, that big one. Personally, I don't think I'd be picking it up because I already have a nice monster truck that came with suspension. It came out a couple years back, and Next up, we have the Spaceship and Asteroid Discovery set, which will retail for $24.99 Canadian. And for 4 Plus set, it doesn't exactly look like a 4 Plus set. I mean, it doesn't look like a non-4 Plus set, but the builds are decent. It looks like I didn't check the piece count, but it looks like you're getting a decent value for your price. The figures look good. It is something I'd be tempted to pick up, even if it's just for a parts pack, but yeah. Next up, we have the Sailboat, which will be retailing for $24.99 Canadian. And I always tend to get these types of boats, like the cheap $25 ones, because they usually turn out really good, and even if they aren't, the boat hulls are really good for mocks. This one, however, I think is one of the better ones they've come out with. It's a good price. You get a sail, 2 minifigures, a dolphin. And yeah, it looks really good. Definitely will be picking up. Next up, we have the food truck, which will be retailing for $24.99 Canadian. And personally, I really like how this looks. I like how you can take the sandwich off of the back and have just this flatbed truck. I love getting these different food vendors Personally, right now I have an ice cream one and a pizza one, so I can't wait to add this to my collection. Next up, we have the Inar Stellar Spaceship, which will be retailing for $24.99 Canadian. And personally, I find that this is probably one of the best sets of the wave. It looks really good, like kind of like something out of like a Star Wars movie. That's what I'm gonna be using it for, though, is like a Star Wars spaceship. Like even like the back thrusters look really detailed. I'm surprised they put this much detail into such a cheap set. Next up, we have the Police and Muscle Car Chase set, which will be retailing for $24.99 Canadian. And when I first saw this image, I thought it was going to be much more expensive. I'm pretty sure the last police chase that came with two cars was like $40 Canadian. So that's how much I thought this was going to be, if not more. But both cars look great. You're getting a good value, definitely. That's all I have to say about that. Next up, we have the 4 Plus Emergency Ambulance, which will be retailing for $24.99 Canadian. And personally, while I find that this set isn't the best ambulance we've ever gotten, I might be getting it solely because I need an ambulance for my city, and right now I don't think there's any other one available. Next up, we have the Emergency Rescue Helicopter, which will retail for $24.99 Canadian. And while I find the cockpit kind of looks a bit off on this helicopter, the rest of it looks great. You get good minifigures. The playability in this is probably pretty good. I can't really tell until I'd get it in my hands though. So who knows how good this set actually is. Some sets look better in person than they do on the box, so hopefully this is one of those sets. Good value though. Next up, we have the race car and car carrier, which will retail for $39.99 Canadian. And I don't have much to say on this set besides that the playability in this is good. You get a car and a truck, and you get two minifigures. Personally, it's not my cup of tea, but next up we have the Space Explorer Rover and Alien Life set, which will retail for $45 Canadian. And this set is kind of weird looking in my opinion. Sure, you get good figures, but otherwise, I find it kind of strange. Next up, we have the 4x4 fire truck and rescue boat set, which will retail for $45 Canadian. And personally, I really like this set. You get a nice tent, the boat's decent, and the truck looks great. The figures are alright in this set, but I feel like the builds are what really shines. Next up, we have the Police Speedboat and Crook's Hideout set, which will retail for $44.99 Canadian. And personally, of every set in this wave, this is probably my favorite, alongside with that Inar Stellar Spaceship. The builds look great, the boat looks great, great minifigures. I'm definitely going to be picking this set up. I don't know if it's going to be a day one purchase for me, but it's definitely getting picked up within the next couple months. Next up, we have the Fire Rescue Plane, which will retail for $69.99 Canadian. And while it looks great, this is definitely not my cup of tea. I will be passing on this. It's a good set, just not for me. Next up, we have the Police Mobile Crime Lab. And personally, this is a set I will be picking up. I love the figures, love the build, and I've never actually gotten one of those mobile command centers that Lego City does it once every 2 or 3 years. I've been wanting one since I was a kid, and this year seems like it has the best one so far, so hopefully I'll be buying this one. But if another set comes up that I like better, I might skip out on this one. Hopefully I don't, though. Next up, we have the fire station with fire truck, which will retail for $99.99 Canadian, and will while the build looks okay, like when you put everything together, it kind of looks a bit off. I like how you can switch out the components on the fire truck, but other than that, like the actual base, like like the garage is the majority of the build for this set. You don't get a lot of actually department for the fire department. Next up is the Lego Command Rover and Crane Loader, which will retail for $110 Canadian. And personally, this is another one that feels very odd, and while the figures are good, the build looks kind of like strange, and it's not something that I'm going to be interested in. Next up, we have the Police Prison Island, which will retail for $129.99 Canadian. This set here is one of the better prisons I've seen. I don't think it's better than the previous, like, prison island, but still pretty good. The use of space is decent, where there's not a lot of wasted space besides that area underneath the, like, escape, like, chute, because that's a lot of empty space under there. But I like how there's multiple ways of escaping. There's only one prison cell, which is kind of unfortunate. But other than that, the figures are good, the build looks good, all that decent stuff. Next up, we have the Modular Space Station, which will retail for $139.99 Canadian. This set looks great. I like how it looks. I probably won't be getting it solely because I don't have any space for it, and it's kind of expensive, on the more expensive side. I like how it's modular. It looks great. Good figures, good, like, small builds in it as well. But yeah, because of the price, I probably it. And finally, we have the Lego Space Base and Rocket Launch, which will retail for $179.99 Canadian. Personally, this set looks good. Like, it's a good little, like, base with, like, the tower, the, like, area underneath. The spaceship's a decent size. You also have this little, like, truck. Good minifigures. I think there's a side build too with, like, a bit of, like, the, like, planet they're on. It's just the spaceship's a bit small for what I'd like in a, like, big space set. And it's kind of expensive too, so I probably won't be getting it. I might get it if I find it on discount, or if I find it used for a cheap price. But otherwise, I won't be getting it. Anyways, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Bye.